Have you ever listened to how people used to speak in Britain and realized just how cutting we could be without ever raising our voices? In the 50s, 60s, and 70s, you didn't need to shout, swear, or slam a door to put someone in their place. All it took was a tone, a raised eyebrow, and the quiet clink of a teacup being set down. And that was it. You knew you'd gone too far. Politeness was our shield. Softness was our disguise. And the insults. Surgical. These are the most politely devastating British sayings that once ruled every home school and Sunday tea. If any of these sound familiar, you were raised in a world where words were gentle, but they hit like a hammer. Let's start with, bless your heart. If you grew up hearing this, you already know. You weren't being blessed. It was never a compliment. It was the spoken version of someone patting your head and thinking, "Oh dear, you really haven't got a clue, have you?" Usually said by older ladies with perfect curls, pearls, and a smile sharp enough to slice glass. You'd stand there smiling back, realizing hours later you'd just been politely destroyed. Then there was, "You do try, don't you?" A classic from teachers, parents, and well-meaning aunts. It floated through classrooms and kitchens alike, soft, patient, and quietly lethal. It meant you were trying your best and achieving absolutely nothing. Said with a sigh so kind, it somehow hurt more than anger ever could. Or that deceptively sweet one. "Well, you're brave." You'd show off a new haircut, a homemade outfit, or a bold idea. And before you could say a word, someone would smile and say it. "Well, you're brave." Translation: that looks dreadful, but how brave of you to appear in public like that. The following silence usually did the rest. He's quite the character. That was code for, he's exhausting, unpredictable, and possibly a danger to the curtains. But we love him anyway. Every family had one. Every street knew one. And if you're wondering who it was in your family, it was probably you. Then came the quiet dagger. A bit much, isn't it? Too loud, too proud, too sparkly, or just too happy. Whispered at weddings, parties, and Christmas dinners, it carried all the weight of judgment Britain could muster. No shouting required. And the masterpiece of polite dismissal. Interesting choice. Said about your wallpaper, your outfit, your baby's name, or your partner. It sounded like approval, but it was really the softest possible way to say, "Oh dear, why would you do that? I wouldn't have done it like that." This one could dismantle your confidence faster than anything. You'd hang a shelf, bake a cake, or fold the laundry, and someone older would look, nod, and say, "Well, as long as you're happy with it." The words sounded kind. The effect was devastating. Then there was, "he's harmless," used for the local oddball who fed pigeons or collected bottle caps. It wasn't reassurance, it was polite containment. Everyone said it with the same mix of tolerance and mild alarm. At dinner tables you'd hear, "Not quite what I expected." That was the British way of saying, "This is awful, and I wish I hadn't eaten it." Nobody complained out loud, they just praised the tablecloth instead. Or the quietly tragic, "They mean well." 5 words of pure British diplomacy. It covered every possible disaster, from bad advice to worse cooking, while sounding forgiving. Parents used, "He's doing his best," like a soft shield. It meant the poor lad was hopeless, but please, don't crush his spirit. "She's very sure of herself," a phrase that once carried centuries of disapproval. Said about any woman who dared to have opinions, confidence, or independence. And the weary, "He's quite the talker," delivered with love and deep exhaustion. A polite plea for silence disguised as praise. Or the hopeful but sharp, "That's ambitious," usually said to anyone who dared dream big. It sounded encouraging, but you could already see them picturing you behind a desk instead. And finally, the deceptively gentle, "Oh bless," so short, so sweet, so utterly devastating. It meant, "You've embarrassed yourself beyond rescue, and I can't even help you anymore." The shorter the "oh," the greater the humiliation. Back then, insults didn't need to shout. They drifted across living rooms, over garden fences, and through polite conversations, wrapped in warmth, but dipped in quiet judgment. We grew up reading tone, not words, hearing warning in softness, not noise. Because in Britain, no one mastered the art of polite destruction quite like we did. And even when it stung, it felt like home, because in those days, even criticism had manners. And sometimes, manners were the sharpest weapon of all.